As you begin moving through the course, I want you to keep in mind the two-stage workflow of rough and refined. And what this really means is that you're letting go of all inhibitions and you are working roughly, you're being loose, you're focusing on correctness and not prettiness, and fundamentals and not an aesthetic, because you want to work on the rough and make sure the rough is solid first, and then you can go in and tidy and neaten and clean things up. So here is an example of a rough and refined workflow of a character called Ichiko, which I've drawn. And you can see on the left hand, it's pretty darn messy, pretty darn rough. And on the right hand side, we have the nice cleaned up lines with a cleaned up workflow. Now, as you move through the course, you will learn all the elements in order to do this type of refinement. In addition, you will learn how to do this stylization. But I want you to move forward without fear. If you think about a kitchen, when someone is cooking, they do not cook neatly, right? They're throwing ingredients around and they're throwing flavors around and they're messing up the kitchen to get those ingredients in the mix, get everything correct in the right quantities, and then they bake the cake and then they ice the cake afterwards, right? Similarly with a building or a construction site's a pretty dirty place. There's tools everywhere, there's sand and dust and concrete, and they're building the structure of the building. That is the rough stage. And once the entire structure is done, then they go and lay the grass and paint the building and put on the facades and so on and so forth. So I want you to always approach drawing with the rough and refined mindset. Drawing is not like something you may see in a movie where an artist just, produces this brilliant piece of work instantly on a sketch pad out in the street in Paris. Typically, art's not really like that. And even when it does seem to be like that, the artist is always working from a foundational place, a rough place, a structural place, into a refined place. So there's always a rough and refined workflow occurring. There's always a rough and refined workflow occurring. And here you can see just a few more examples of the rough and refined workflow here in a head drawing, and then here just in some typical rough drawings as well. These are very much rough, very much loose, and you can see the construction lines there and what have you. And on that note, while you're moving forward doing this, feel free to be loose. Use your arm, your elbow, and your shoulder to draw quick, loose lines. Don't be afraid to just keep recircling things in the rough stage. Be rough, be loose, be messy. Don't worry so much about aesthetic. I'm an artist, I know that you guys are artists, and I know what we worry about. Don't worry about the aesthetic. Don't worry about what things look like, especially in the rough stage. Focus on making sure that things are correct, that your proportions are correct, that your size, your spacing, and your locations of elements are correct, that your measurements are correct. So be rough, be loose, be messy, and work in the two-stage workflow. I'm really excited to get started, so I'll see you guys in Module 1.